He's still there.
Hmm?
He's just a lad. Way flag.
I'd better have a word with him. Hey! Come here! Now, what are you up to?
I just want to know why, for something as daft as what I did, you get me a police record and add me to the millions of unemployed.
Stealing is wrong. What'd happen if everybody went around grabbing what they wanted?
Some don't need to, do they? Not when they're retired and on a pension. Sorry.
I am not on a pension.
You're comfortable, though, aren't you?
Not at this minute, I'm not. Come on in. Parents?
Divorced. I live on my own.
YMCA sort of thing. Church army.
Bedsitter and lucky to get it. Communal toilet and a dodgy electric kettle. It's a bit of a dump, but I don't grumble.
Your mother threw you out.
I left. My choice. OK.
You better sleep in the spare room tonight.
Hey?
I've got something I want to talk to him about in the morning.
Are we sure?
I better get back, thank you. I might run off in the middle of the night with all your savings.
What's that then, Mrs. Wainthropp?
I think there's a fraud going on at our post office. Unemployed couple, man and wife. They cash their social security checks with us, but lately they've come in with an old lady's pension book and they've been cashing that as well.
Who's the old lady? Someone local?
Never seen her.
Has your boss seen her?
He says we all look alike to him. He's not bothered. But I'm bothered. I don't like mysteries.
I think you do.
Cheeky monkey. They say the old lady lives above them. Now, I want to know where that is.
What do you want me to do?
You followed me, you can follow them. They're in again next Tuesday afternoon. Can you get time off?
What option have I got?
I'm not blackmailing you, Jeffrey. Do it for the interest. Next Tuesday, then. And Jeffrey, that cycle's to go back where it came from. There's not so many churches in town you can't find a vicar that's lost his transport.
He'll not be pleased.
Makes no odds. He's bound to forgive. It's in the job description. You know, there were aspects of that inquest I didn't care for at all.
Oh, you mean the coroner cut you off a bit short?
There was no interest shown in how that old lady died.
Doctor gave evidence. Cranial something. She fell on the stairs and died of her injuries.
But did she fall? Or was she pushed? Oh, kiwi fruit. There was a recipe on TV. What about that man that grabbed Jeffrey? If it was him phoned the police, why wasn't he called to give evidence? There's something here that doesn't add up.
Hetty likes things to add up.
You said yourself, I like making things add up. Never satisfied until I reach the truth. Those were your very words.
I'm not always right. By no means.
I mean, what does that coroner know? I was the one who discovered the fraud. I'm a natural detective, Robert. Meant to be, just as you said.
I did not. I did not.
You must do what you're called to do in this life. If you don't follow your star, you'll never hit the jackpot. Post office work does not extend me.
You're a valued member of staff. They rely on you.
I was meant for better. I've found my calling, Robert. Hetty Wainthropp. private eye. There's 50% off on the small ads in the record this week. I could put one in while they still remember who I am.
My wife. That's your calling.
I shall rely on you for advice and encouragement. And I better get one of those parrot books out of the library. See how the professionals do it. And I shall need a devoted sidekick. They all have them. Geoffrey? I need an assistant. Sexton Blake had his Tinkerbell, and so shall I.
Tinkerbell was a fairy.
Be that as it may, you're elected.
How do I get paid?
Same way as me, out of the profits.
What profits?
There'll be plenty of pickings when we get our first clients. I'm having cards printed. In the meantime, we'd best get our hand in by clearing up this bag lady business. Dinner time, we'll start in the market.
Cheers.
We may be out of our depth, Geoffrey.
Made 150 quid out of it, though, didn't we?
There's more to life than money. Like staying alive. I've got to get out of this bag lady case. Drop it and find a way of letting them know. Whoever they are.
We're not quitters, Mrs. Wainthropp.
There'll be other cases.
Never close a file, you said.
Well, I'm closing this one. We have to, Geoffrey. We've blundered into something, I don't know what. But whatever it is, they tried to kill me tonight. If you hadn't been there...
But I was.
We speak to the police. Attempted murder. They'll have to investigate. This is as far as I am prepared to go.
She's been in before, sir. Eccentric. There was a piece in the record.
Do you look at her arms?
Sir?
If she fell through the ceiling, she'd be marked.
I could have been killed.
Oh, I don't think so. A broken ankle would have been more likely. Allow me to introduce myself. Detective Chief Inspector Adams. And this Mr. Harkness gave you £150 in used notes.
Yes,
And a bit of torn wrapping paper with directions written out in capital letters.
that's right.
We were there. It happened to us. We're witnesses.
A teenager and a pensioner.
Excuse me.
They'd make mincemeat of both of you in court. Not that it could ever come to that. With no suspects and no proof of crime.
There's proof of one thing. Somebody's trying to get me to back away from the bag lady case. If you don't believe us, why did you come?
Old buildings interest me.
Oh, aye.
Did you suffer any bruising?
Bruising? Here.
Thank you, Mrs. Wainthropp. Shall we go? People think the police can investigate anything. We're a public service, chronically short of cash. Broadly speaking, we investigate only two sorts of crime. What we can't avoid and what we think we can clear up. Are you with me?
I'm ahead of you.
You tell me people are trying to kill you because you've been poking your nose into the old lady's death. It's unprovable. A waste of public money to give you more than a few soothing words. But suppose you suffered an unfortunate accident after making this complaint. We'd have to take it seriously. Are you still ahead of me?
Catching up.
I don't think you'll be bothered again. Unless you turn up something really important, in which case I want to know.
Agreed.
If it was me dabbling in such an unlikely affair, I'd start by trying to find out who Mary Nabley was and where she came from. She must have a family somewhere.
I've been thinking, Geoffrey, about that light we saw on the way in. Remember what I said to you when they set that trap for me, the kidnapped girl in the cottage? The bleating of the goat.
Excites the tiger.
Right. And the flicker of the candle flame attracts the moth.
What do we do?
Wait for moths. Come on, you'll see.
Now let's take a good look at you. Jeffrey? That'll teach you.
You stupid woman.
You've got some explaining to do.
Use your initiative. They never say what they really mean. You have to work it out for yourself. Take care of her. How? Oh, it's up to me. The man on the ground. That's what they pay for. They don't want to be bothered. Don't want to know my troubles.
And now?
He won't be pleased.
You're not working for the government then?
I have worked for the security services. There's so much privatisation these days. You'd be surprised what I get asked to do.
But not this time.
Not as far as I know.
I think I'd better make an appointment to see this boss of yours.
Yeah, ask DS Lennox to come in, please. Right. Shall I be mother?
Why not?
Milk?
Yes, please, but no sugar.
Right. This is Detective Sergeant Lennox. He's on sick leave at present, recovering from a stab wound sustained in the course of duty. But he's come in part-time to assist you.
Glad to.
Help yourself, Steve.
Thank you, sir.
Assist?
The liaison. Facilitate your inquiries. Now, shall we share information?
After you.
When a car falls from a height onto rocks and then into the sea, Mrs. Wainthropp, it is considerably damaged, and so is any body which happens to be inside it. But Lynn Horrocks was wearing a seatbelt, so that her body was less damaged than it might have been, though her internal organs were a bit of a mess.
It said on the television she was 3 months pregnant.
That was a medium misunderstanding, though we've let it go in the hope of flushing out any ex-boyfriends. But why the seatbelt? The car was parked for at least an hour, and during that hour she ate a picnic. It was all there in her stomach. Why a meal if she intends to kill herself?
The condemned woman ate a hearty picnic, it has been known.
People do it for comfort.
Point taken. Did explain the wine. However, second point. She was already dead when she hit the water. There was no water in her lungs. If Lynn Horrocks' death wasn't suicide, it must have been murder, but by whom? Why? How did the murderer get there and get away afterwards?
She must have brought him. That explains the picnic.
Him?
Whoever.
Whoever, yes. She seems to have had lots of acquaintances, mostly professional, but hardly any friends. We'll have to interview them all anyway. Now, Mrs. Wainthropp, you tell me about Malcolm Stone.
We're still looking for him.
Take good care of her, Lennox. I have a high opinion of Mrs. Wainthropp's detective abilities, but she sometimes gets herself into dangerous situations. The sergeant will bring a car round for you, Mrs. Wainthropp.
Oh, very nice, thank you.
High opinion, sir.
She has the devil's own luck and people talk to her. Anything she finds out, I want to know.
Yes, sir.
Geoffrey?
The DCI will want this.
You could have the negative.
I want the negatives too.
We must have a picture.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wainthropp. This is material evidence.
That's why I need it.
To the Horrocks inquiry, not your inquiry.
Let me be the judge of that, young man. Robert, take this and get a large photocopy made.
Right.
But, Mrs. Wainthropp...
Please don't make difficulties, Sergeant. I was promised full cooperation. Now, tomorrow morning, if you've no objection, I'd like to see round Lynn Horrocks' flat.
Right.
Was she a Catholic?
I don't know what she was. I'm not really on the case. Why do you want to know?
To get a feeling of what she was like from where she lived. I've not heard much good of her so far.
There's not really much to see. They took all the personal stuff. Letters, diary, address book. Photo features she was trying to sell. Not very imaginative. Teenage vandalism. Okay, I suppose. But everybody's seen so much of it already. Nothing new.
How did you get your stab wound?
Drug squad. We get a lot of aggro. It's all part of the game.
Now let's go back to the beginning, Geoffrey.
Malcolm took a photo of the car on the cliff. Then he saw something happen. Whoever he saw him and caught him.
A man. He saw a man. Evidence of the lady at the petrol station.
Nice cup of chocolate.
Thanks. He escaped. The man still had Malcolm's car, but Malcolm had money. He could have got home somehow. Only he didn't go home. Instead, the man took Malcolm's car home, parked it just round the corner.
And waited.
Right. But Malcolm must have got away again. He phoned his parents to let them know he was okay. But he still couldn't go home. And he's not been seen or heard of since.
Aye. Kidnappers do that, don't they? Make your phone home to say you're alive.
It wasn't a kidnap. Nobody's asked for money. But the man found Malcolm again. He's hiding him somewhere.
If he's still alive.
What kind of person has the contacts to find Malcolm if he's drifting? What kind of person could frighten him out of going to the police? The sort of person who could convince him he wouldn't be believed.
But how could he convince anyone of anything when he can't hear what they say?
He can read lips.
Do you remember those photos at Lynn's flat? The housing estate ones?
Teenage vandalism, he said. But there was one photo of two lads, and one of them was handing money over. Money for drugs. It has to be. And Sergeant Lennox is on the drug squad. And then there's the back of that head.
you're jumping to conclusions, Geoffrey.
I've a good coach, Mrs. Wainthropp. Olympic standard.
I met Gianni's parents in Tuscany. They were worried not having heard from him for a long time. They've employed me to pursue inquiries. I'm a private detective, my card.
You certainly fooled me.
So I should hope. Disguise is part of the job.
Sherlock Holmes could not have done it better.
Fine words, butter no parsnips, Ernesto. I'll have the card back if you don't mind. We're running a bit short till I get a reprint done. Now, where's Gianni gone and why did he need money?
Really, I did not know him so well. He did not confide in me.
Women?
I don't think so. For an Italian student in Britain, women are not a problem. Gianni, how does one say, pull the birds.
And do you, pull the birds, Ernesto?
I came here to learn English. Most evenings I don't go out.
Do you need money? Gianni had a part-time job till he gave it up. Do you?
I don't like to interfere so much with my studies. But we were talking about Gianni.
Right. Back to Gianni. Was he on drugs?
I would have noticed.
Gambling? Horses, cards, roulette? Anything like that?
Did his parents say he liked to gamble? Did they say anything to help you find him?
They said he wasn't keen on work.
I think maybe they are right. But it's not much use to help you find him. Please, Mrs. Wainthropp, believe me. I don't know much about Gianni's business. But if you give me back your card, I will let you know at once whenever I hear some news. Please.
Recognise him? Did he ever come in here?
Well, I can't say. You get all sorts.
Do you? Looks like mainly regulars to me. Place like this, there'd be no passing trade.
There are some regulars, naturally.
Was he a regular?
I really can't remember.
But you remember he came in? You've seen him before?
I never said so.
You've said nothing at all so far. I find that interesting.
I'm not supposed to say anything. What happens between a man and his turf accountant, it's confidential. We learn that on the training course. It's like being a doctor or a priest.
What's the problem?
This lady's harassing me.
I'm a detective. Have you seen this young man before?
It's not the policy of this establishment to provide information about our clients.
So he is a client. When the police found Gianni's body, it wasn't just the little fingers gone, it was his eyes as well.
Cornea transplants.
They'd be sent abroad, he'd be making a fortune. It's mainly cremations these days. Not many are buried. Once they go through that curtain to the incinerator, who's going to know they're short of a few bodily bits and pieces?
Folks would notice. Some grieving widow might want a last look.
It's eyes, Robert. You remember that stuffed ferret you tried to buy at auction and I put a stop to it? They take out the real eyes and put in glass. Now, missing fingers would be noticed. That's where Gianni made a mistake. And that's why he had to be killed. How do we prove it?
You don't have to prove it. The police will do that.
I promised I wouldn't talk to the police, and anyway, as Jeffrey says, it's all guesswork.
Ernesto will crack.
If he doesn't, we've got no case. We must have proof. We've got to get into those premises somehow. It's the only way.
I think your grey cells may have gone a bit too far this time, Mrs. Wainthropp.
I'm not asking you to go alone. I'll go with you.
Oh, no, you won't. Provided, and only provided, we get our supper first, I'll go with the lad. You've never been handy with tools. I doubt they'll be well protected. Nobody will burgle an undertaker's. So turn on the oven. I'm on my way to the freezer.
Wait, I've got a better idea. A chapel of rest. We've come to take our last leave of the late Mr. Satterthwaite. Just a momentary weakness.
You shouldn't have come, Mother. You're far too sensitive.
After all these years, I had to pay my respects. Don't worry about me, I'll be all right now. I congratulate you. You've done a wonderful job. I've never seen him look better. Well?
In certain expectation of eternal bliss in the life hereafter.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Detective Chief Inspector Adams.
Please.
Sergeant, round the back. We're sorry to cause a disturbance. Please don't be upset. Everything's under control.